The World War III, man. We're here, right? Are we? It feels like we're on
really close,
the cusp. And it's a pretty scary time to be in. Because it seems like minute by minute we're getting it's an unprecedented time, right? The closest thing that we feel like this at least was like Vietnam, right? The first time we got to see first images of war on TV, right?
Yeah.
Then you had the Iraq war, and you got to see those images, and now, of course, you're seeing this conflict that is being basically live, unedited, unfiltered.
Yeah.
Despite there being, I'll get to that later, but despite being a ridiculous amount of like fake and manipulated reports coming out, let's talk about this Ukraine thing, guys. How do you guys feel first and foremost about what is going on?
I'm saddened and I'm kind of scared. Okay, especially as a parent now, you think about, I remember when I was young, I was indestructible. I really felt like I could never die. Just a stupid young thought. But now the thought of your mortality and the people that you are responsible for is in the forefront now every minute, because we hear it, we see it, we get breaking news all the time. So I'm afraid in that regard that World War III could actually pop off and my child's future is completely different. Who knows what it'll be? And then I'm saddened because the people of Ukraine, whatever your thoughts, I feel like I'm always the David and Goliath kind of guy, and I will always root for the little guy. Yeah. That's just my nature, whatever the politics. So I'm sided in that regard.
Been the little guy.
Just saying, I always been there. So I hope that this doesn't happen.
Why do I feel like I feel I've been doing? I'll say this about this whole thing, because everybody knows for the most part what the main story is here, right? At least thinks they know what the main story is. In terms of Ukraine and Russia, it's got beef. Russia's the bad guy. Ukraine's the good guy, right? Sure. David and Goliath, like you put it. And shame on Russia. But I think it's not so black and white. And I think that American politicians, I think American media are playing games with people's heads, and it's unethical. It's not right. And I think that people need to be very careful about the opinions that they form and the things that they say and post regarding the war, because it's we don't know everything that's going on.
Me personally, I don't care about the politics of this shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know enough about it, but I'm of the mindset I don't care about it, in the sense of, for me, I see people that need help. Bottom line, that's all. That's where my mindset is. I feel like we get involved in shit and we say, oh, well, we need to go help these people because we have our own self-interest to look out for. But then we turn the blind eye when we don't have self-interest to shit. You can't have it both ways. You can't be the world's police only when it's fucking convenient for you. You can't be the biggest, baddest motherfucker in the playground and do nothing when a bully is fucking picking on somebody that's smaller than them or something. And then I just feel like the right thing to do is to help people when they need help. But again, there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of shit that comes along with that.
Exactly.
I think to assume that it's that simple is naive at best. No offense to you,
I don't know enough about the politics to say this is how I feel about that. And that's why I took that completely out of it. I'm just thinking in terms of on the surface and what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that, if one has the ability to help another, then you should. But at what risk, right? If your kid is drowning and a stranger is drowning, who are you going to say? What's in your best interest, right? I'm not trying to oversimplify the situation because it is very complex. This is something that has been brewing between these two countries, between these two parts of the world for a long freaking time now, for a long standing time now. And to assume to simplify this in terms of good versus bad, in terms of right versus wrong, is just, I just think it's I don't know. I don't want to say ignorant because that sounds ugly, but
I agree. No, it's ignorant. It's ignorance. If you don't know about something, that's what it is. I'm ignorant to all the fucking political details and shit. All I see are women and children huddled in fucking subway stations and fucking women and children being bussed out of there while their fucking dads are going to fight. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I'm ignorant to the fucking details because I haven't studied them, and I've been reading up on it recently, and I can't speak intelligently about it from that point of view.
Sure.
So I'm just speaking it from that emotional point of view. That thing when you initially see something like, yo, that's fucked up.
Let's talk. What do you guys think are the main opinions that most Americans have of someone like Vladimir Putin and his general motivation behind all this?
I mean, you could call it the propaganda or what, but I think it's clear that the world, right, thinks that Putin is the bad guy. You said good versus bad. He's the bad guy. He is the oppressor, right? We talk about, we hear the stories of him killing,
to take over the world.
You know, he wrote himself as president for life. We've heard that headline. We've had the headline of journalists being killed, poisoned, thrown off balconies. So we hear those headlines from Putin. So that's the narrative that we have. Dude's crazy. We don't want to mess with Putin because he's crazy. That's what most people say.
Yeah, exactly. The keyword crazy.
I don't think he's crazy.
Everybody says the man's crazy. The man's insane. He's
a genius.
The man is insane. And whether you're saying he's genius or crazy, I think he's an intelligent person. I think it takes an intelligent person to run a country. I think that he's got motivations that don't align with ours.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Yeah. He put himself in power. But we could say that about some of our own presidents as well. So we don't want to go down that freaking path, but I think that there's a lot going on. I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing, that everybody's just kind of oversimplifying this good guy, bad guy situation. And I think this guy Putin, albeit might be, like I said, his motivations don't align with ours or the rest of the Western side of the world's motivations. But I don't think the man is crazy or just trying to take over the world for some kind of power struggle. What I believe is that the man. I'm not saying that. Let me say this, because I want your guys' true opinions, and I don't expect anybody to agree with me or anything like that. But trying to speak as unbiased about this as possible. Let me preface this by saying I don't support any kind of tyranny. I don't support Russia's, any kind of Russian conquest or any kind of oppression. I don't support war at all. I'm a veteran. I've been in conflict. I've been to Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom, and my opinion of my place and my position and the people I cared about in that war was very different back then than it is today. Now that I know more, now that I've matured, so. You can call me a hippie, or you can call me a traitor all you want, but it doesn't change the reality of the situation, the reality of facts. We can be biased and say, well, this is what we want here in America, and this is the kind of government we believe this is the way we believe a country should be run. But that doesn't mean that that's fact. That doesn't mean that that's right. That's just what we believe. I'm not saying, again, that Putin is doing things the right way, but the fact is that he's got reasons that he feels are just. And those reasons, I believe, for the most part, are the fact that he doesn't trust the Western countries.
That's true.
And there is evidence that he boasts, and that I think historically that points to reasons why he is justified in not trusting the West. I'm not saying that he's to be trusted, and I'm not saying that his motivations are particularly saintly or good.
It's likely why,
but he's got every reason to mistrust the West.
I get that,
and I agree that to a certain extent. I think most people like that. At the end of the day, they're doing what they feel is what's right.
Okay. And so this person, although he might be at war with another country, you know that there was conflict back in 2014. There was conflict in the 90s. There's been conflict between these countries for a long time. And according to, Russia, and according to Putin, and I know you can say you can't believe anything Putin says, but there's plenty of lies that have been dished out by the American government and by any country's government too. Sure. So who's to know what is true or false? But according to many sources, there was an agreement back in this time where the nukes in Ukraine were given, I think it was Mensa, right? Where the nukes were given up by Ukraine to the Russians. And Russians had vowed not to attack. So they're, you know what I mean? So that obviously has kind of the kibosh has been put on that. But also there was an agreement, from what I understand, from what I've read, that Ukraine would never join NATO. And I think, I don't know about you, but I think that any country, whether we disagree or agree with their politics, would not like a country that they feel that they already have beef with joining their enemies, or at least people they have problems with, especially if they share a border with them. I mean, Ukraine is like the last stand. Ukraine, Belarus, and like Moldova pretty much are like the last standing countries that are on the border of Russia.
Yeah, I mean,
Poland, everything beyond that is part of NATO. Exactly. So if they join NATO, if they if you, my homeboy Pat showed me a flight tracker. He's been trying to find information as true as possible, because there's so many false reports out there. So he's looking at things like air pollution tests and flight trackers to see what kind of real live data is out there to support what is actually happening out there, which is, I think, is genius. Shout out to Pat for that shit. But one thing that I learned from that was there's a ton of U.S. Air Force planes all up along the border, right behind Ukraine, all up on the border on the other side of Ukraine, encompassing all those countries in Europe.
We just sent a bunch of people to Poland yesterday.
Okay, so shit is people are ready, things are popping off. And do you blame any world leader for not wanting that on his doorstep? Because I don't think we'd be happy if Mexico or Canada decided to do something like that.
Sure, but if he takes over Ukraine, then it's on his doorstep anyway.
I mean, I don't know how that. Yeah, that's a good point. That's that's a good point. But I don't know if he's gonna take over Ukraine. There's reports that are saying that he's gonna split the country up between Belarus and Ukraine. There's reports saying that he's gonna take over. He's not saying any of that. He just wants to basically take out the government, replace the government. That's what he is saying. I'm not saying that can be trusted, but from their point of view, it is a military strategy. They're not aiming at civilians. They're trying to take out specific regions, take out the capital, replace the government, and that's that. Who knows what's going to happen? It could be good. It could be bad. I'm not saying that I support it. All I'm saying is that this is far more complex than good guy, bad guy, and the wrong move could start a nuclear freaking war.
Oh yeah, they're ready for that. Bingo.
So why push any buttons? I feel for Ukraine. I feel for the people of Ukraine, but I also feel for the people in the Congo. I also feel for the people in Hong Kong. I also feel for the people in the Middle East. There's tons of people out there that are committing atrocities, that are enduring atrocities, not genetic, but like racial cleansing and genocide and things like that. And we don't get involved because there's no money in the pot.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that's why it pisses me off that I just found out that the U.S. Air Force is just sitting there waiting for something to pop up, because that's my turning point in this. I don't want a single American life over there. Point blank, period. You want to send aid, you want to send bullets, you want to send fine, whatever. The day, the moment a U.S. person dies, Biden, okay, that's on you. This is not our war, and that's where I'm at. Okay, yeah. I feel for Ukraine. I want to fight for Ukraine, but of course, let's be real. This is not our war. I'm with you. I feel there is interest. There is interest. I
read something the other day
and defend the Constitution and its interest. Yeah. I think we are very interested.
I read something the other day and I couldn't check. The only reason why I didn't post it was because I didn't have time to check every source. But from what I did see, Ukraine is very rich in natural resources. I think top 5 in the world, and in many natural resources. So there are economic interests for the West here, beyond spreading democracy. I mean, there are economic interests for Russia as well. I'm just saying, like I said, we pick and choose who and who we don't want to help.
We on this show specifically, we shit on our own government for doing these exact same things, for being hypocrites, for lying, for pulling strings, for saying yes over here, saying no over there. We recognize that of our own government. Putin recognizes that of our own government. So I can't get mad at him doing what he feels he needs to do when he sees a NATO force on the other side of the street.
Hey guys, it's Frank the Tank here. And if you like what you saw in today's episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button below. And for all new fresh content, go ahead and click right on over there. Watch out, Big A's. And if you want to watch some of our more classic episodes, go ahead and click right on that way. Every week Wednesday in the Cypher with the Podheads.
You.